This picture is very similar to previous pictures we've seen. The serratus anterior muscle, major pectoral muscle, deltoid muscle and trapezius muscle are in view. The main difference is that the platysma muscle has been removed, revealing most of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Here we get a view of the superficial structures present in the lateral cervical region, also called the posterior triangle. The lateral cervical region is defined by structures we can find in this picture. The anterior boundary of the lateral cervical region is formed by the posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. The posterior boundary is formed by the anterior border of the trapezius muscle. The inferior border is formed by the clavicle. Now, the whole lateral cervical region is highlighted in green. The external jugular vein courses over the sternocleidomastoid and into the lateral cervical triangle. We also see some nerves that have a course through the lateral cervical triangle. The 11th cranial nerve, the accessory nerve, lies quite superior and spans the lateral cervical triangle in a medial lateral direction to innervate the trapezius muscle. A supraclavicular nerve is also visible. This is a cutaneous nerve that provides sensory innervation to the skin around the clavicle. Lastly, just inferior to the point where the jugular vein crosses the sternocleidomastoid, the cervical nerve point is found. This is a point of the sternocleidomastoid where 4 cutaneous branches of the cervical plexus extend past the muscle. The 4 nerves are the supraclavicular nerves, one of which we've just met, the greater auricular nerve, the lesser occipital nerve, and the transverse cervical nerve. Removing the external jugular vein, the sternocleidomastoid muscle from its origin at the manubrium of the sternum and the clavicle, and surrounding connective tissue, fat and fascia, reveals deeper structures of the neck. We can again view the accessory nerve. In the anterior aspect of the neck, muscles with a close relationship with the hyoid bone are found. The hyoid bone isn't shown here, but could be palpated in this area. The superior belly of the omohyoid muscle crosses the cervical region diagonally to reach the hyoid. The inferior belly, which originates at the upper border of the scapula, isn't shown. Anterior to the insertion of the omohyoid muscle, the sternohyoid muscle inserts at the hyoid. Deep to the omohyoid muscle, the internal jugular vein is found. The cervical nerve point can be seen again, extending from under the internal jugular vein. Removing the superior belly of the omohyoid muscle and the internal jugular vein gives a better view of the nerves found in the cervical region. First, however, we'll highlight some important arteries. The common carotid artery is visible. Superiorly to it, its bifurcation is visible, with even more superiorly, its continuation in the internal and external carotid artery. The internal carotid is seen to give off the superior thyroid artery. Next, lifted by the probe, many nerves are visible. The most anterior one is the vagus nerve, coursing posterior to the carotid artery towards the diaphragm. Most posteriorly, we can again see the accessory nerve. In between these nerves, we get a better view of the nerves that originate from the nerve point of the neck. Again, some of the supraclavicular nerves are visible. The other sensory nerves are lost. Note how, deep to the structures discussed, the scalene muscles are already visible underneath their fascia. Note that for this shot, the sternocleidomastoid muscle, sensory nerves originating from the nerve point, and the scalene fascia have been removed. This gives a clear view of the anterior scalene muscle and the middle scalene muscle. The probes have been placed underneath each of the 3 trunks of the brachial plexus, which form from the 5 roots C5 to T1 that contribute to the plexus. Usually, all 3 trunks pass between the anterior and middle scalene muscles. Here, only the inferior and middle trunk take that route. The superior trunk has a slightly aberrant path in that it pierces the anterior scalene muscle. Note that when we zoom in on the superior trunk, we also see connecting fibers between this trunk and the phrenic nerve. Is the vagus nerve, the most anterior one. Thank you for watching our video. We hope you've learned as much as we have making it. Siem and I would like to thank the people listed here. We've received great advice and support from them in completing this project.